Hello, and welcome to another episode of Cool DIY Projects. I'm maker Brianna, and today we are going to build a portable FM radio.
So Brianna, you've built an FM radio before, haven't you?
Yep.
You want to show your audience the previous radio that you built?
Sure.
Trusted in the USAA since 1922.
Okay,
My
cool.
name is Roger Zapata. We're the Bakers. We're the Tench family, and we are USAA.
All right, so go ahead and turn it off. So we had some trouble with that build, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah, we never did get the clock to work right, and the sound coming out of the radio is kind of distorted. It was kind of a difficult build. There were absolutely no instructions with the kit, so we weren't too pleased with that, but we're hoping this one's going to be better, right? So Brianna, you want to take the audience through the different components of this FM radio kit?
Sure. This is the practice board.
Yeah, so we're going to be building this using surface mount devices, which is different than anything that we've done previously on your channel. And surface mount devices are really small, so it takes a little bit of practice to learn how to do it. And conveniently, this kit comes with a little practice board for doing that. So what do we got next?
And this is the actual board that we'll be using.
Yep, that's the actual circuit board that the FM radio is going to get built on. What else?
And this is the front case, and this also a case that goes in the back.
Okay, well, it's the other way around. This is the front case, and this is the back case. Okay? What else we got?
Then we got
That's the jack that the headphones plug into.
these are the resistors.
Resistors and capacitors. Yep. Those are the integrated what?
Integrated circuit.
Integrated circuits. Yep, that makes up the brains of the radio. We have a little tiny switch over here. That's the power switch. And then the USB jack. We got some, what else we got there?
We got some bolts and screws.
Nuts and screws for putting the thing together.
Then we got the button.
The buttons, the switches, for changing the channel and so forth.
And these are the buttons that we put on.
The button covers.
Yeah, the button covers.
Okay.
This is the battery.
The battery, yep.
This is the charger.
Charging cable.
This is the case.
Parts of the case,
This
yep.
is the case that we put on it.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the little headphones.
Little headphones. Okay. Very good. So Brianna, you want to explain the different tools that we're going to need in order to build this FM radio kit?
Sure. This is the head magnifier.
The head-borne magnifier. Mm-hmm.
These are this is a tweezer.
Tweezers. So we're going to be picking up and manipulating some very, very small devices, and the tweezers are really going to help with that.
These are needle nose pliers.
Needle nose pliers. Yep.
This is a wire cutter.
Wire cutters. We might need those, we might not.
Yeah, who knows? Of course, everyone knows that's the soldering iron.
Okay, there's the soldering station. Yep. And what are the soldering stuff there?
This I like to call the unsolder.
The unsolder, huh? So that's for that's called desoldering braid, and if you put a little bit too much solder on a device, you can use that to remove some of it.
Yeah.
What else?
This is the solder.
That's the actual solder. Okay. And what's
And
that last thing?
This might be new to you, but this is basically the
Tip tinner.
yeah, the tip tinner.
Yeah, that's for tinning the iron. So the last few episodes we made, we were actually putting a little bit of solder on the tip of the iron in order to get it ready for soldering. But you can just kind of dip the soldering iron into that stuff and it does the same thing. It's a little bit more convenient.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready to get going?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go. Okay. Okay, so we're going to start with the practice board, and you'll see that we've just kind of taped it down to the desk since we don't have to lift it up to put through-hole components in it. And what Brianna's doing here is she's putting a little bit of solder, just a little bit of solder on each one of the pads for each of the components. There are different ways of doing surface mount component soldering. This is just one of them. Okay, so she's put a little dab of solder on each pad, and now we're going to place the devices, heat up the solder, and then solder the other side. Okay, so what Brianna's going to do is she's going to use the tweezers to put the resistor in the right place. She's going to heat up one pad with the soldering iron, then she's going to remove the heat and then release the resistor. Okay, let's have a look. You can see how the resistor is right there in the middle of the pads there. Very good work, Brianna.
Thank you.
So she soldered one side of all those resistors, and now she's going to solder the other side. And to make this easier, we've actually flipped the circuit board around because Maker Brianna is left-handed, and it's easier for her to hold the soldering iron in her left hand. Okay, put the soldering iron away. Let's have a look. Alright, nicely done. All the rest of the surface mount components are going to mount the same way, and since Maker Brianna is an expert at this, we're just going to get right to building this FM radio. So we've already run into our first problem, haven't we, Brianna?
Yes, we have.
What's the problem?
That there's no R1.
Right, so the instructions here are pretty detailed and actually calls for the installation of an R1 in the first step. And you come over to the schematic here, you can see R1 right there, which is on pin 1 of this IC. But if we come over here to the circuit board, pin 1 of the IC is right there, and that pin is actually connected to the ground plane. So there is no R1 or C2. So the circuit board does not match the schematic, but we can read the schematic, and so we're going to go ahead and continue on with the build. Okay, so we've got lots of resistors and capacitors already installed on the board. Let's take a quick look. You can see the devices there and there that we put on the board, some down here. We're getting ready to put these two devices onto the board right here. Brianna, what's different about those devices than the ones we put on so far?
They have a plus side and a minus side.
Yeah, they're called electrolytic capacitors, and they're polarized, so you have to make sure you put them in the right way. Most resistors and capacitors, it doesn't matter. And the way we've got the board situated, you can see that there's a little dark bar on one end of the capacitor, and that has to go on the left side of the board if you have the EQKIT logo facing the top like that. Brianna's getting ready to solder that bottom capacitor in there. Okay, there you go. It's coming along. So we finished installing all the resistors and capacitors in the LEDs, and just like the electrolytic capacitors, the LEDs are polarity sensitive, and they have an arrow on them that has to point in the same direction as the arrow on the circuit card. So let me borrow your tweezers here, and you can see right here that there's an arrow on the circuit board, and there's an arrow underneath the LED that has to point in that same direction. There's also a green LED and a red LED, green, red, and the way you tell the difference is in the carrier that they come in. There's a little paint stripe there which tells you whether it's a red LED or a green LED. So the next step is to install the integrated circuits, and they have to be installed in a certain way. Brianna, can you explain to us how we do that?
Yes. You see this dot right there?
Okay, there's a dot on the integrated circuit. Where does that go?
It goes right here, and we know that because there's a half of a semicircle.
Yep.
right there.
Okay, so you just have to make sure there's two ways you can orient it, and you just have to make sure the dot is next to the semicircle on the circuit board.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the way you solder an IC is just like you solder a resistor. You put a little bit of solder on one of the pins, and you place the IC in place while you melt that solder, and then that'll hold it in place while you solder the rest of the pins, just like we did before. The only difference is there are more pins. A little bit extra solder on that one, but we'll fix that later. So a little tip, you may have noticed that Brianna put a little bit too much solder on a couple of those pins in the IC and shorted out the pins together. And if that happens, you can take a little bit of this desolder braid and using the soldering iron push it down onto those pins, and it'll suck up some of that excess solder, so you get a nice clean solder joint there, and there are no shorts between the pins. That's the one thing you want to look for, is shorts between the pins. Okay, so we've completed installing the integrated circuits. What's next, Brianna?
To solder the USB port in the switch.
What's the switch for?
To turn all these circuits on and off.
Okay, and what's the USB port for?
For charging the radio.
Okay, charging the internal battery. What did we just get done installing, Brianna?
A crystal.
A crystal, and what does a crystal do?
It oscillates the frequency.
It oscillates at a specific frequency. So that's the crystal right there. And that is used as a frequency reference inside the radio for tuning specific frequencies. Okay, so what's next, Brianna?
We are going to put in the headphone jack where you can just plug your headphones in here.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have these button switches.
Button switches for selecting different frequencies and things like that. Okay, so what's next, Brianna?
We get to install the battery.
And after we install the battery, we should be able to fire it up and see if it works.
Yes!
Okay, so we're ready for an initial smoke test. What's that, Brianna?
Where we turn it on and try it out.
And what happens if we let out the magic smoke?
Then that means that something's really wrong.
Yeah, we did something wrong. Okay, so this radio is meant to work into a pair of headphones, but that's hard to demonstrate on a video, so we've plugged it into the Bose speaker cube that Brianna built in a previous video. So Brianna, go ahead and turn it on and see if it works. There you go. It works. What do you think, Brianna? You ready to start final assembly?
Yep.
All right. Where are we at, Brianna?
We mounted the battery and now we're putting the case together.
Okay, you want to go ahead and put that last acrylic piece on there?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to mount the front panel and we'll be back. Okay, so we've finished the mechanicals construction, Brianna. How did that go?
Not too well. The instructions weren't that clear.
Yeah, it was a little bit tricky, but we managed to get it figured out. It was one of the more difficult parts of the build, but it's all together now. You ready to give it a shot?
Yep.
All right, fire it up. Turn another station. How's it sound? All right. Okay, Brianna, how would you rate the difficulty of this project?
Medium.
Intermediate. It involves some surface mount soldering, which is not for beginners. And the mechanical assembly, while it wasn't difficult, the instructions weren't very clear. What about the fun factor? Did you enjoy building it, and do you like the product?
Yes, I like both.
Okay, and what are your final words?
I'm Maker Brianna, and thanks for watching.